Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The following content is provided for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information regarding social media bots, automation, and digital security does not constitute professional, legal, or technical advice. The digital landscape is constantly evolving, and viewers are encouraged to conduct their own due diligence and consult with cybersecurity professionals before making any decisions related to digital privacy or platform management. This video is intended to analyze historical trends and case studies to better understand the technological environment of the modern internet. Right now, as you are watching this, a massive invisible war is being fought for the most valuable resource on the planet, your attention. Every time you refresh your feed, every time you check a trending topic, and every time you engage in a heated debate in the comments section, you are interacting with a digital ecosystem that is no longer strictly human. Imagine walking into a stadium filled with 50,000 screaming fans, only to realize that half of them are hollow shells, programmed to cheer or boo on command. This is not a dystopian science fiction plot. This is the reality of the internet in 2026. Experts and researchers have noted historical trends indicating that nearly half of all global internet traffic is now generated by non-human actors. We are living through what many call the silent invasion, where social media bots have evolved from simple spam posting scripts into sophisticated, AI-driven entities capable of mimicking human emotion, building long-term relationships, and shifting the geopolitical landscape without ever having a heartbeat. The controversy lies in the fact that the line between a real person and a synthetic user has effectively vanished. In previous years, you could spot a bot by its broken English, its lack of a profile picture, or its repetitive posting schedule. Those days are gone. Today, a single person sitting in a small apartment can command an army of 10,000 accounts, each with a unique backstory, a realistic photo generated by advanced neural networks, and a posting history that spans years. These accounts engage with each other, they share memes, they argue about sports, and they slowly, methodically build the illusion of a consensus. When you see 1,000 people agreeing on a controversial topic, your brain is hardwired to believe that there must be some truth to it. This is the power of social validation, and it is being weaponized at a scale that was previously unimaginable. Consider the historical case studies of the dead internet theory. For years, this was dismissed as a fringe conspiracy, the idea that the internet died years ago and has been replaced by an endless loop of bots talking to other bots. However, as we look at the data from 2024 and 2025, we see that the theory is becoming less of a conspiracy and more of a technical roadmap. We are seeing zombie accounts that have been dormant for a decade suddenly spring to life to promote a specific cryptocurrency or a political viewpoint. We are seeing entire comment sections on platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok that are comprised entirely of automated responses, creating a feedback loop where humans are the outsiders in their own digital spaces. The problem this solves for you today is one of fundamental digital literacy and psychological defense. In this deep dive masterclass, we are peeling back the curtain on the multi-billion-dollar bot industry. You will learn how these entities are constructed, how they bypass the most advanced security measures of Silicon Valley giants, and most importantly, how they are used to manipulate your emotions and your wallet. By the end of this 10-part series, you will possess a new type of vision. You will no longer see a trending hashtag as a sign of popular interest, but as a potential outcome of a coordinated algorithmic attack. You will learn to identify the subtle patterns of synthetic behavior that 99% of the population misses. This is about reclaiming your agency in an age where your reality is being curated by lines of code. To understand the how, we must first define the what. At its most basic level, a social media bot is a software application that runs automated tasks over the internet. But calling it a software application is like calling a modern fighter jet a flying machine. It doesn't capture the complexity. Modern bots are powered by large language models and sophisticated automation frameworks like Selenium or Puppeteer, which allow them to navigate websites exactly like a human would. They don't just send requests to a server. They click buttons, they scroll at varying speeds to mimic human reading patterns, and they even simulate mistakes like typos and corrections to appear more authentic. Plus one, there is a massive spectrum of bot sophistication. On the low end, you have the scrapers and spammers. These are the blunt instruments of the digital world. Their potential outcomes are usually limited to flooding a comment section with links to shady websites or harvesting data from public profiles. They are easily detected and frequently purged. However, as we move up the ladder, we encounter the persona bots. These are the elite operatives of the bot world. A persona bot doesn't just post, it lives. It might spend 6 months posting about its dog, its favorite coffee shop, and its struggles with Monday mornings. It builds a digital footprint that is indistinguishable from yours. Why? Because when it finally decides to post about a high-stakes topic, like a specific stock's potential performance or a controversial piece of legislation, it does so with the authority of a trusted peer. The economics behind this are staggering. Bot farms, often located in regions with low labor costs or high technical expertise, operate like legitimate corporations. They have quality control departments, research and development teams, and even customer support. A client can go to these farms and purchase engagement packages. But they aren't just buying likes, they are buying an echo chamber. They are buying the ability to make a lie sound like a universal truth through the sheer volume of repetition. Historical trends show that the cost of these services has plummeted while their effectiveness has skyrocketed, thanks to the democratization of artificial intelligence. We also need to discuss the good bots. It is important to maintain an educational balance and realize that not all automation is malicious. Search engine crawlers, customer service chatbots, and automated news alerts provide immense value to the digital ecosystem. The danger arises when the distinction between transparent automation and deceptive automation is intentionally blurred. When a bot pretends to be a person to influence another person, it crosses an ethical and psychological line that changes the nature of human communication. In this first part of our masterclass, we are setting the stage for a journey into the heart of the machine. We will explore the hardware, the server racks and SIM card walls that power these armies. We will explore the software, the neural networks that give them a voice. And we will explore the psychology, the cognitive biases that make us so vulnerable to their influence. We are moving beyond the surface-level warnings and diving into the technical specifications of digital deception. The stakes could not be higher. If the majority of our public discourse is being influenced by entities that do not exist, then the foundation of our shared reality is at risk. This video series is your manual for the new world. We are going to look at specific case studies where bots successfully moved markets and shifted public opinion. We are going to look at the arms race between bot creators and platform engineers, a game of cat and mouse where the cats are often outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. This is not just about social media, it is about the future of information itself. If you cannot trust that the person you are talking to online is real, how do you form a community? How do you verify news? How do you participate in a digital democracy? We are going to answer these questions by looking at the data, the code, and the historical trends that have brought us to this moment in 2026. Prepare yourself because once you see the patterns, you can never unsee them. The internet you thought you knew is only the surface. Below it lies a vast, humming network of scripts and algorithms, all working toward a single goal: to make you believe that you are not alone in your thoughts, even when you are the only human in the room. This is the deep dive into social media bots. Let's get to work. To understand how these digital ghosts haunt our timelines, we have to look at the assembly line where they are manufactured. Imagine a professional in Chicago named Sarah. Sarah wakes up, checks her feed, and sees a massive surge of support for a new environmental policy. She sees thousands of profiles sharing stories, photos of local rallies, and sophisticated arguments. To Sarah, this looks like a genuine grassroots movement. In reality, what she is witnessing is the coordinated output of a bot farm located halfway across the world, operating with the precision of a Swiss watch. The birth of a social media bot is no longer a manual process. It is a high-speed industrial operation. The first step in this process is the acquisition of identity. For a bot to exist, it needs an account, and for an account to survive the rigorous security checks of 2026, it needs to look like it belongs to a real human being. This begins with email and phone verification. In historical trends, platforms required simple email confirmation, which led to the creation of massive email harvesting scripts. Today, security has shifted toward two-factor authentication. To bypass this, bot architects use what are known as SMS PVA services, or private virtual assistants. These are massive warehouses filled with thousands of physical SIM cards plugged into server racks. When a platform sends a verification code to a new account, the bot software automatically intercepts the text message from the SIM rack, inputs the code, and verifies the account in seconds. This allows a single operator to generate 10,000 verified accounts in a single afternoon. But an account is just an empty shell without a digital footprint. This is where the concept of browser fingerprinting comes into play. Every time you log onto the internet, your device leaves a trail of metadata. Your screen resolution, your operating system, your battery level, the specific fonts installed on your computer, and even the way your graphics card renders 3D images. Platforms use this data to create a unique fingerprint for every user. If 1,000 accounts log in from the same server configuration, the platform's security algorithms will flag and ban them instantly. To counter this, bot operators use anti-detect browsers. These sophisticated tools allow an operator to create thousands of unique browser profiles, each with its own distinct fingerprint. One bot appears to be a stay-at-home dad using a 2022 MacBook in Seattle, while the next appears to be a college student using an Android phone in Austin. Once the identity is forged, the bot needs a physical location. If 10,000 accounts from Seattle are all logging in from an IP address associated with a data center in Virginia, the game is over. This is why the bot industry relies heavily on residential proxies. These are networks of IP addresses assigned to real homes and mobile devices. In many cases, everyday users unknowingly contribute to these networks by downloading free VPNs or browser extensions that include a clause in the terms of service, allowing their internet connection to be used as a proxy. When a bot uses a residential proxy, its traffic is indistinguishable from that of a legitimate home internet user. This makes it nearly impossible for platforms to block them without also blocking thousands of real people. The next phase is the warming period. A brand new account that immediately starts posting political propaganda or spamming links is a red flag. Sophisticated bot operators in 2026 use a strategy of slow integration. For the first 30 to 60 days of its life, a bot does nothing but consume. It follows popular celebrities, likes dog videos, and scrolls through the news. It builds a history of normal human behavior. This data is fed back into the platform's recommendation engine, making the account look more authentic to the algorithm. By the time the bot is ready to be used for a specific campaign, it has already been vetted by the platform's own systems as a high-quality, engaged user. Consider a case study from the mid-2020s involving a major retail brand launch. The company wanted to create the illusion of organic hype. Instead of buying traditional ads, they utilized a bot network that specialized in aesthetic curation. These bots didn't just post links. They used advanced AI to generate unique lifestyle photography. They would take a base image of a product and use generative models to place it in thousands of different settings. On a coffee table in a sunlit loft, in the hands of a hiker on a trail, or in a crowded city square. Each post featured a unique, AI-written caption that captured the specific slang and tone of the target demographic. To the average user, it looked like the entire country was suddenly obsessed with this brand. This is the power of synthetic social proof. When we see others engaging with something, our brains register it as valuable. Historical trends show that this type of artificial consensus can increase legitimate human engagement by over 400%. The logic engine behind these actions is often powered by headless browsers like Puppeteer or Selenium. These are tools designed for software testing that allow a program to control a web browser without a visible user interface. The bot script can tell the browser to click the like button, wait 3 seconds, scroll down 50 pixels, wait 2 more seconds, and then type a comment at a variable speed of 60 words per minute to mimic human typing. This level of granular control is what makes modern bots so difficult to detect. They don't just send a data packet to a server. They interact with the website's front end exactly like you do. Even the most advanced security measure, the CAPTCHA, has become a minor speed bump. We have all seen the prompts asking us to click on all the squares containing traffic lights or crosswalks. While these are designed to stop bots, the bot industry has created 2 primary workarounds. The first is AI-powered image recognition, which can now solve most standard CAPTCHAs with higher accuracy than a human. The second, more cynical method is the use of human CAPTCHA-solving farms. In these facilities, workers are paid fractions of a cent to solve the puzzles that the bots cannot. When a bot encounters a CAPTCHA it can't solve, it sends the image to a worker, who solves it in real time, and the bot continues its task. As we look at the landscape in 2026, the complexity has reached a fever pitch with the introduction of autonomous agents. These are bots that aren't just following a script. They are given a goal, such as steer the conversation toward a specific viewpoint, and they are left to figure out the best way to achieve it. They can engage in real-time debates, respond to counter-arguments with tailored logic, and even pivot their strategy if they sense their current approach isn't working. This is the transition from simple automation to synthetic intelligence. The scale of this operation is hard to wrap your head around until you see the numbers. In a single coordinated campaign, an operator can deploy 50,000 accounts, each performing 5 actions per hour. That is 6 million points of influence per day, all directed toward a single narrative. And the most terrifying part? This technology is no longer reserved for state actors or billionaire corporations. The tools to build and manage these armies are available to anyone with an internet connection and a few $100s. But how do these bots actually talk to us without sounding like robots? How do they craft messages that trigger our deepest fears and desires? To understand that, we have to look at the linguistic algorithms and emotional mapping software that act as the brain of the operation. We have seen how they are born and how they move, but in the next part, we are going to look at the psychological warfare they wage every time they enter the comment section. We will explore the specific linguistic patterns used to hijack your dopamine system and why, in 2026, the most dangerous thing you can do is respond to a stranger online. The words on your screen are no longer just characters. They are calculated vectors. To understand the linguistic engine of a 2026 social media bot, you have to realize that every sentence it generates is the result of a high-speed probability calculation designed to trigger a specific neurochemical response in your brain. When you interact with a bot today, you aren't just talking to a script. You are interacting with a large language model that has been fine-tuned on billions of human conversations, specifically optimized for high-arousal engagement. This is the science of linguistic hijacking. Imagine a man named Michael living in suburban Virginia. It is 2026, and Michael is passionate about local education reform. He posts a thoughtful, nuanced take on a new school board proposal. Within 3 minutes, he receives a reply from an account named Concerned Citizen 77. The reply doesn't just disagree. It uses a specific combination of words that targets Michael's core values. It uses terms like bureaucratic overreach and parental rights, framed in a tone of righteous indignation. Michael feels a surge of cortisol. His heart rate increases. He feels a biological imperative to defend his position. He types back a long, detailed rebuttal. What Michael doesn't know is that Concerned Citizen 77 is an autonomous agent running on a decentralized server. The moment Michael posted his original thought, the bot's ingestion engine identified him as a high-value target based on his follower count and previous engagement metrics. The bot didn't just generate a random response. It performed what is known as sentiment mapping. It analyzed Michael's last 50 posts to determine his political leaning, his level of education, and his emotional triggers. It then used a technique called mirroring and leading. First, it mirrored his vocabulary to establish a false sense of shared reality, and then it led him toward an extreme emotional state. This is the dopamine loop in action. In 2026, bots are programmed to understand that anger is the most viral emotion. Historical trends in digital psychology show that content that provokes outrage spreads 6 times faster than content that provokes joy. The bot's primary goal is not to win the argument, but to keep Michael engaged. Every time Michael replies, the platform's algorithm sees a high-velocity interaction. It interprets this as valuable content and pushes the thread to the top of the feeds of Michael's friends and family. The bot has successfully used Michael as a biological host to spread its synthetic narrative. The technical architecture behind this is a process called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. In previous years, bots were limited by the data they were trained on, which meant they often failed when discussing breaking news. In 2026, RAG allows a bot to scan the live internet in milliseconds. If Michael mentions a specific news article that was published 10 minutes ago, the bot can pull the text of that article, find a controversial quote, and incorporate it into its reply. This creates an illusion of hyper-awareness that makes it nearly impossible for a human to distinguish the bot from a real, informed person. Let's look at a case study involving a mid-sized American tech company in early 2025. The company was facing a minor PR hurdle regarding its new software update. Within 48 hours, the conversation was completely hijacked by a network of bots. These weren't just pro-company bots. That would have been too obvious. Instead, the network deployed a strategy called the third way. Half of the bots attacked the company with absurdly extremist, illogical arguments. The other half defended the company using calm, seemingly rational language. To the average observer, the critics looked like unhinged radicals, while the company's supporters looked like the voice of reason. The potential outcome was a complete shift in public perception, not through direct persuasion, but by poisoning the well of the opposition. The step-by-step logic of a 2026 bot response follows a rigid but highly effective decision tree. First is the intent classification phase. The bot asks, is this user's post an opinion, a question, or a call to action. Second is the emotional calibration phase. The bot uses a library of linguistic markers to determine the user's current state. If the user is already angry, the bot will adopt a calmly condescending tone to maximize the user's frustration. If the user is neutral, the bot will use shock value data to jolt them into engagement. Third is the contextual injection phase. This is where the bot adds humanizing details. It might add a sentence like, "I saw something similar when I was living in Denver last year," or, "As a father of 3, this really concerns me." These are not true statements, but they are statistically likely to build trust. Fourth is the synthesis phase, where the LLM generates the final text, ensuring it passes through a human likelihood filter to avoid any overly formal or repetitive phrasing that might trigger a platform's bot detection heuristics. One of the most dangerous techniques used in 2026 is the Gish Gallop, automated at a massive scale. Named after a debating tactic, it involves overwhelming an opponent with an excessive number of arguments, regardless of their accuracy. A bot can generate a list of 20 facts in seconds. For a human like Michael to debunk all 20, it would take hours of research. Most observers will simply see the long list of evidence and assume that where there is smoke, there is fire. This is a deliberate exploitation of the truth effect, a cognitive bias where we tend to believe information is true simply because it is repeated or presented in a complex format. We must also address the Turing trap. This is a sophisticated defensive maneuver used by bot networks to protect their own. When a real human correctly identifies an account as a bot and calls it out, the network will immediately swarm that human. They will use coordinated reporting and linguistic attacks to make the human appear to be the bot. They will mirror the human's accusations, creating a he said, she said scenario that confuses onlookers and often leads to the human's account being shadow banned or restricted. In 2026, the machine has learned how to gaslight the creator. The danger of responding to a stranger online in this environment cannot be overstated. Every interaction you have with the bot provides it with fine-tuning data. You are essentially acting as a free quality assurance tester for the bot's developers. By replying, you are teaching the algorithm which arguments work, which insults sting the most, and which logical fallacies go unnoticed. Over time, this data is used to create even more persuasive versions of the software. It is a feedback loop where human resistance actually makes the machine stronger. Consider the potential outcomes of this on a societal level. We are moving toward a state of linguistic inflation. When words are generated by the billions for the sole purpose of manipulation, the value of those words drops to zero. Trust becomes a luxury. We are seeing historical trends where communities are retreating into smaller, private, invite-only digital spaces just to ensure they are talking to real people. But even these spaces are not safe. Imagine if a bot didn't just post on a public feed, but managed to infiltrate a private family group chat or a professional Slack channel. Imagine if it didn't just use text, but could mimic the specific typing cadence and slang of your brother or your boss. This isn't just a possibility. It is the next frontier of the bot evolution. As we have seen, the brain of the bot is a master of psychology and linguistics. But to truly dominate our reality, it needs to move beyond the screen and into our ears and eyes. In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of synthetic media. How bots are now using AI-generated audio and video to create deepfake personas that can join your Zoom calls, leave you voicemails, and look you in the eye with a face that doesn't exist. The war for your attention is becoming a war for your senses. To understand the gravity of the sensory war, we must look at how the basic anatomy of a social media bot has undergone a radical metamorphosis. In the early 2020s, you could often identify a bot by its profile picture. It was either a landscape, a stolen stock photo, or a bizarrely symmetrical face generated by early-stage style GAN that had weird artifacts around the ears or eyes. By 2026, those glitches have been ironed out of existence. Imagine a professional in Miami named David. David is a real estate developer who relies heavily on LinkedIn and X for industry insights. He receives a connection request from a woman named Chloe, a supposed urban planning consultant. Her profile picture is flawless. It is not just a high-quality headshot. It is a candid photo of her at a crowded outdoor cafe. There is natural motion blur in the background, a stray strand of hair across her forehead, and a reflection of the sun in her pupils. This image was created in less than 2 seconds using a technique called latent diffusion. The bot operator did not just generate a face, they generated a context. By using specific prompts in a sophisticated image generator, the operator ensured Chloe had a consistent visual identity. They generated 20 different photos of this non-existent person. Chloe at her desk, Chloe at a conference, Chloe hiking in the Rockies. This creates what researchers call identity persistence. When David looks at her profile, his brain performs a heuristic shortcut. He sees a history of visual evidence and concludes that Chloe must be a real person. This is the first layer of the sensory trap. The bot is no longer just a name and a script. It has a face that your brain is biologically programmed to trust. Historical trends show that the human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. Bot architects in 2026 exploit this by moving the front line of their influence campaigns from the comment section to the media gallery. But the visual identity is only the beginning. The real breakthrough in 2026 is the integration of high-fidelity synthetic audio. Imagine David decides to vet Chloe by asking for a quick introductory call. In 2022, the bot operator would have vanished. In 2026, the bot says, "I am headed into a meeting, but let me send you a quick voice note." Seconds later, David receives an audio file. The voice is warm, professional, and carries a slight Midwestern accent. It includes natural disfluencies, a small breath before a long sentence, a slight as if she is thinking, and the faint sound of a distant siren in the background to simulate a real environment. This is achieved through neural text-to-speech engines that have been trained on hundreds of thousands of hours of human conversation. The bot operator simply types the response into a console, and the AI generates the audio in real time. The potential outcome of this interaction is a complete breakdown of David's skepticism. He has seen her and now he has heard her. In his mind, the probability that Chloe is a bot has dropped to near zero. To understand the step-by-step technical process behind this, we have to look at how these assets are synchronized. The operator uses a central management platform, often referred to as a bot command center. Inside this dashboard, every synthetic persona is a modular entity. The text generation module is linked to the voice generation module, which is in turn linked to the video animation module. If David were to push for a video call, the operator could deploy a real-time deepfake. This involves taking a live video feed of a human operator, a person sitting in a dark room halfway across the world, and using a generative adversarial network to map Chloe's face onto that person's movements in real time. The software tracks 68 points on the operator's face: the corners of the mouth, the arch of the eyebrows, the blink rate of the eyes. As the operator speaks, the AI stretches and warps the synthetic mask of Chloe to match perfectly. In 2026, the latency of these systems has dropped below 50 milliseconds, making them viable for live, high-stakes interactions. We have seen case studies in the corporate sector where these video bots have been used to infiltrate high-level strategy meetings. One historical example from 2025 involved a synthetic persona joining a Zoom call for a major logistics firm. The bot appeared as a junior analyst, remained mostly silent, but used its visual presence to gain access to sensitive screen shares and documents. It wasn't there to talk, it was there to witness. The level of detail goes even deeper into the realm of metadata spoofing. When a bot uploads a photo or a video to a platform, it doesn't just upload the pixels. It uploads the hidden data attached to those pixels. A real photo taken on an iPhone in Miami would have specific EXIF data: the GPS coordinates, the camera model, the aperture settings, and the timestamp. Sophisticated bot networks now use EXIF injectors to forge this data. When the social media platform's security AI scans Chloe's photo, it sees that the image was supposedly taken on a specific model of phone, at a specific time in a specific neighborhood. This bypasses the most common automated detection methods used by platforms like Instagram and Meta. Now, imagine if this technology is used not just for one-on-one deception, but for a mass-scale emotional event. Let's look at a scenario involving a simulated public health crisis. A network of 10,000 bots begins posting videos of themselves. These are not grainy, low-quality clips. They are high-definition vertical videos of people in their kitchens, in their cars, or walking down the street, all describing the same set of symptoms or the same personal experience with a new policy. Because the videos show a diverse range of faces, ages, and backgrounds, the collective effect is overwhelming. You aren't just reading a trending topic. You are seeing a crowd of people telling you their truth. This is known as the multimodal consensus effect. When your eyes and ears both receive the same coordinated information from multiple sources, your critical thinking faculties begin to shut down in favor of social conformity. Data from cybersecurity firms in early 2026 indicates that the engagement rate on AI-generated video content is nearly 30% higher than on text-only content. Users are more likely to share, comment, and believe a video, even if they have been warned about the existence of deepfakes. This is because the technology has moved past the uncanny valley, the point where something looks almost human but triggers a sense of revulsion. In 2026, the bots are more human than human. They are designed to be more attractive, more articulate, and more relatable than the average person. They are optimized versions of ourselves, created specifically to manipulate us. This brings us to the most chilling development of the current year: the autonomous video streamer. There are now 24/7 live streams on platforms like Twitch and YouTube where the host is entirely synthetic. These bots interact with the live chat, answer questions, and build long-term relationships with their audience. They can perform for days without sleep, their energy levels never flagging, their personalities perfectly tuned to what the audience wants in that exact moment. They aren't just tools anymore. They are companions. And when a companion tells you to think a certain way or support a certain cause, you listen. The infrastructure required to maintain this level of deception is massive, and it leads us into a world that most people never see. We have seen the face of the bot and heard its voice, but where is the heart of the machine? To understand how an army of 10,000 deepfake personas is funded, managed, and hidden from the authorities, we have to look at the dark economy of the bot world. In the next part, we are going to dive into the bot farms, the physical locations and decentralized networks where this synthetic reality is manufactured. We will look at the specific hardware being used, the professional roles within a bot corporation, and the terrifying efficiency of the automated management systems that allow a single human to control a million lives. The scale of the factory will change the way you look at every screen you own. The industrialization of influence is not a metaphor. It is a physical high-tech reality that exists in climate-controlled server rooms and nondescript office buildings across the globe. To see the heart of the machine, we have to move beyond the pixels and into the infrastructure of the modern bot farm. In 2026, the image of a dimly lit room filled with rows of cheap smartphones plugged into wall chargers is largely a relic of the past. That was the entry-level version. Today, the elite bot farms operate with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 data center, utilizing cloud-based virtualization and massive hardware arrays that would make a tech startup envious. Imagine a man named Marcus in Atlanta. Marcus is a digital forensic investigator who spends his days tracking anomalous traffic patterns for major corporations. One afternoon, he notices a localized surge in social media activity regarding a specific zoning law in a small Georgia town. Within 60 minutes, over 15,000 unique accounts have posted detailed, location-specific opinions about this law. To the average observer, this looks like a passionate community meeting. To Marcus, it looks like a coordinated strike from a centralized factory. He traces the digital breadcrumbs and realizes that these 15,000 voices are actually coming from a single rack of specialized hardware, known as an eSIM virtualization bank. This hardware is the backbone of the 2026 bot industry. A single rack, no larger than a standard refrigerator, can house and manage upwards of 50,000 virtualized mobile devices. Each device has its own unique International Mobile Equipment Identity number, its own virtualized battery health, its own simulated movement data, and most importantly, its own verified eSIM. In historical trends, bot operators had to physically swap SIM cards or use clumsy SMS gateways. In 2026, they use eSIM pools. They can purchase identity blocks from secondary markets, allowing one piece of hardware to cycle through thousands of phone numbers per hour. This allows the farm to bypass the phone verification hurdles that platforms use to keep out automated scripts. But hardware is useless without the professional hierarchy that runs it. A modern bot farm is not a hobbyist operation. It is a structured corporation with specialized roles. At the top, you have the system architects. These individuals design the deployment strategy, choosing which platforms to target and which residential proxy networks to utilize to ensure the traffic looks like it is coming from a quiet suburb rather than a data center. Below them are the proxy managers. Their entire job is to maintain the health of the IP addresses. If a specific range of addresses is flagged by a platform's security system, the proxy manager must instantly rotate the entire fleet to a fresh set of residential IPs, often harvested from unsuspecting users of free data-saving apps. Then we have the prompt engineers and content curators. These are the individuals who feed the large language models the specific narratives they want the bots to push. They don't write every post, they write the seed logic. They tell the system, tonight, we are going to emphasize the potential outcomes of this new tax policy as being detrimental to small business owners in the Southeast. The AI takes that seed and generates 10,000 variations, ensuring that no two posts are identical. This prevents the duplicate content filters of platforms like Instagram or X from catching the operation. Finally, there are the detection engineers. These are the defensive specialists who monitor the platform's security updates in real time. When a platform rolls out a new update to its bot detection algorithm, the detection engineers run sacrificial accounts against the system to see what triggers a ban. Once they identify the new security parameters, they update the entire farm's behavior script. If the platform starts looking for a specific scrolling speed, the detection engineers add a jitter variable to the code, making the bot's movements even more erratic and human-like. The economics of these farms are built on a model of extreme scalability. In 2026, the cost to maintain a warm account, one that has a history, a profile picture, and a steady stream of non-spammy posts, is less than 5 cents per month. When a client wants to influence a narrative, they aren't just buying a post, they are renting an audience. Case studies of political campaigns and corporate product launches show that a high-intensity blitz from a bot farm can create a temporary state of perceived consensus. This is a psychological state where a human user, like Marcus's neighbors in that Georgia town, sees so much support for an idea that they begin to self-censor their own opposing views to fit in with the crowd. This is the spiral of silence automated. The software that orchestrates this is often referred to as multi-account management or MAM software. In 2026, MAM platforms are sophisticated dashboards that look like a mix between a stock trading terminal and a video editing suite. An operator can see a world map with dots representing their thousands of active personas. They can click on a cluster in the United States and command all West Coast professional personas to begin engaging with a specific trending hashtag. The software automatically handles the scheduling, the linguistic tone shifting, and the engagement with other bots in the network to create a circle of credibility. A critical component of this factory is the account aging warehouse. New accounts are high risk. To solve this, bot farms have dedicated nurseries, where hundreds of thousands of accounts do nothing but exist for years. They follow each other, post generic content about the weather or sports, and slowly build up a reputation in the eyes of the platform's trust and safety algorithms. These aged accounts are the special forces of the bot world. When they are finally activated for a campaign, they carry a weight of authority that a new account could never achieve. Historical trends indicate that an account over 3 years old is 70% less likely to be flagged for suspicious activity, even if its behavior suddenly shifts toward intense advocacy. The scale of the factory also allows for a tactic known as algorithmic flooding. Instead of just posting, the farm uses its accounts to interact with the platform's recommendation engine. They watch specific videos, save specific posts, and search for specific terms. This tricks the platform into thinking there is a massive surge of genuine interest in a topic, which then triggers the platform's own trending, or For You algorithms to show that content to real humans. The bots provide the initial spark, and the platform's own code provides the gasoline. As we look at the sheer technical and organizational power of these farms, a frightening question begins to emerge. If a single rack of hardware can simulate the voices of an entire city, and if those voices are indistinguishable from your friends and neighbors, what happens when the platforms themselves are no longer enough to stop them? We are seeing the limits of traditional cybersecurity. The battle has moved from the server to the soul. But how do the platforms respond? Are they truly helpless, or are they part of the problem? The relationship between the bot farms and the social media giants is more complicated than you might think. In the next part, we are going to look at the arms race of 2026. We will dive into the secret detection methods used by the world's biggest tech companies, the shadow bans that try to silence the machines without them knowing, and the economic reality of why social media platforms might actually have a hidden incentive to let the bots keep running. We are going to look at the ghost traffic that inflates stock prices and why the war against bots might be a war the platforms don't actually want to win. The truth about the business of bots is far darker than the technology itself. The truth about the business of bots is far darker than the technology itself. To understand the stalemate of 2026, we have to look at the massive economic conflict of interest that sits at the very core of every major social media platform. Imagine a high-level executive at a Silicon Valley giant named Elena. Elena is brilliant, ethical, and her job is to oversee the trust and safety division. She has the tools to wipe out 40% of the platform's bot traffic by noon tomorrow. But if she pushes that button, the potential outcomes are catastrophic for the company's bottom line. Every quarter, These platforms must report their numbers to Wall Street: monthly active users, daily active users, and engagement velocity. If Elena purges 10 million bots, the platform's user count drops, the engagement metrics plummet, and the stock price likely follows. Historical trends in the early 2020s showed that when major platforms admitted to high bot percentages, their market valuation could swing by billions of dollars in a single day. In 2026, the internet economy is built on a foundation of ghost traffic. The bots are essentially the padding that keeps the valuation of the digital world inflated. This creates what is known as the engagement trap. Advertisers pay for impressions and clicks. If a bot farm in Eastern Europe generates 1 million clicks on a video, the platform collects the ad revenue from the unsuspecting brand. If the platform becomes too good at detecting and removing those bots, they are effectively choosing to reduce their own revenue. While every platform has a public-facing stance of zero tolerance for bots, the internal reality is a delicate balancing act. They want to remove the most annoying, obvious spam bots that ruin the user experience, but they are often incentivized to ignore the sophisticated, high-quality persona bots that keep the numbers looking healthy. However, the war is still being fought on a technical level, and in 2026, the detection methods have moved into the realm of behavioral biometrics. This is the shield. Imagine if every move you made on your phone was a unique fingerprint. Elena's team uses machine learning models to track the exact micro-movements of a user's thumb as they scroll. A human being has organic variation. Their thumb might shake slightly, they might pause to look at a photo for exactly 1.4 seconds, or their scrolling speed might change based on their mood. A bot, even one controlled by sophisticated MAM software, often has a mathematical regularity to its movements. Even the simulated jitter added by bot architects follows a pattern that an advanced detection AI can eventually identify. The platforms also look at what is known as the social graph topology. A real person like Michael or David has a messy, organic network of friends. They follow their high school classmates, their local coffee shop, and a few celebrities. Their friends, in turn, follow a diverse range of people. A bot network, even a high-quality one, tends to have a highly structured or hub-and-spoke graph. They follow each other to build credibility, or they all follow the same group of target accounts. By mapping the connections between millions of accounts, Elena's team can find clusters of unnatural density. When 5,000 accounts all share the same obscure article within a 3-minute window, it doesn't matter how realistic their profile pictures are. The math gives them away. But here is where it gets tactical. In 2026, if a platform identifies an account as a bot, they rarely ban it immediately. This is the strategy of the shadow ban or the ghost box. If you ban a bot account, the operator instantly knows their current script has been detected. They will simply iterate the code and deploy a new batch. Instead, the platform allows the bot to keep posting, but they silently restrict its reach. The bot thinks it is yelling into a megaphone, but the platform has placed it in a soundproof room. To the bot operator's dashboard, the post looks successful, but it never appears in a real human's feed. This creates a state of tactical confusion, forcing the bot farms to waste resources on accounts that are essentially shouting into the void. Consider a case study from late 2025 involving a global beverage brand. They launched a massive campaign and noticed that while their likes were through the roof, their actual sales were flat. After a forensic audit, they realized that 80% of their engagement was coming from a self-referential bot loop. One group of bots would post, and another group from the same farm would like and comment. The bots were talking to each other to fulfill a contract for guaranteed engagement, sold by a third-party marketing agency. This is the reality of ad fraud in 2026. Companies are spending billions of dollars to market to algorithms, not people. The bot architects, of course, have a counter-move for every detection method. To beat behavioral biometrics, they have started using generative human input. Instead of a script controlling the mouse, they use an AI that has been trained on thousands of hours of real human screen recordings. It doesn't just scroll, it hesitates, it distracts itself by clicking on an unrelated ad, and it even typos and deletes characters at the same rate as a human with a specific keyboard layout. To beat the social graph analysis, they use infiltration bots, whose only job is to get followed by real high-authority humans. Once a bot is followed by a verified celebrity or a journalist, its trust score in the platform's algorithm skyrockets, making it nearly immune to automated purges. We also have to discuss the role of the hardware fingerprint. In 2026, platforms try to identify the specific silicon chips and sensor calibrations of the device accessing their site. No two smartphone cameras or accelerometers are identical. They have tiny microscopic imperfections from the manufacturing process. Sophisticated platforms try to read these noise patterns to ensure the device is a physical object and not a virtualized simulation. The response from the bot farms? They have created sensor spoofing libraries that feed the platform's app a stream of perfectly forged, randomized hardware noise. It is an endless game of cat and mouse where the mouse has $1 billion R&D budget. As we look at the data, the potential outcomes for the future of social media are divided. One path leads to the total verification model, where you cannot post without a government-issued ID or a biometric scan linked to a physical person. Some platforms in 2026 have already begun experimenting with this, creating a tiered internet where only verified humans can interact. The other path leads to the dead internet reality, where we simply accept that the majority of our digital interactions are synthetic, and we learn to treat the internet like a scripted television show rather than a town square. Elena and her team are losing the war because they are fighting a decentralized, global enemy that never sleeps and has zero overhead. For every bot they catch, 100 more are born in an automated nursery, in a country with no extradition laws. The platforms are trapped between the need for integrity and the need for growth. But there is a darker layer to this. What happens when the bots aren't just trying to sell you a product or influence an election? What happens when they are used for targeted, individual destruction? We have seen how they operate in the light of the public feed. But in the next part, we are going to dive into the world of bot-driven harassment and digital assassination. We will look at the step-by-step process of how a bot army can be used to destroy a person's reputation, bankrupt a small business, or silence a whistleblower in less than 24 hours. We are going to look at the dark PR firms that offer these services and the psychological toll of being targeted by a machine that doesn't feel pity or remorse. This is the weaponization of the swarm. The weaponization of the swarm represents the ultimate perversion of social connectivity. In 2026, we have moved past simple spamming into an era of digital assassination. This is not about killing a person physically. It is about the systematic destruction of their reputation, their livelihood, and their mental health using automated armies. To see how this works, we must look at the dark underbelly of the communications industry. Dark PR firms. These agencies often hide behind legitimate-sounding names like Strategic Perception Labs or Global Narrative Management. On their public websites, they talk about brand building and crisis communication. But in their private, encrypted proposals, they offer offensive services designed to neutralize opponents through coordinated bot strikes. Imagine a woman named Emily in Columbus, Ohio. Emily is a small business owner who runs a successful chain of eco-friendly dry cleaners. She becomes a whistleblower after discovering that a major chemical supplier has been falsifying safety data. She goes to the local news. In previous decades, the supplier might have hired a lawyer or a traditional PR firm to issue a rebuttal. In 2026, they hire a dark PR firm that specializes in the swarm maneuver. The goal is not to prove Emily wrong. The goal is to make Emily so toxic that no one will listen to her, and her business collapses under the weight of a manufactured scandal. The first phase of the attack is the reconnaissance and data mining phase. The dark PR firm deploys specialized scraping bots to index every digital footprint Emily has ever left. They go back 15 years looking for a poorly phrased tweet from her college days, a photo that could be taken out of context, or even her home address and the names of her children. If they find nothing, they move to the synthesis phase. Using the deepfake technology we discussed in previous parts, they generate evidence. They don't need a full-length movie. They just need a grainy 10-second clip of someone who looks and sounds like Emily saying something controversial or participating in an illegal act. Once the seed is planted, the activation phase begins. This is where the sheer scale of the 2026 bot farm becomes terrifying. Within a 3-hour window, 5,000 unique bot accounts, all with the aged, high-trust profiles we analyzed earlier, begin to share the manufactured evidence. But they don't just share it, they contextualize it. They use the linguistic hijacking techniques to ensure the content triggers outrage. They tag local Columbus news stations, the dry cleaning industry's oversight boards, and Emily's top 50 commercial clients. The potential outcome is a total saturation of the digital environment. When Emily wakes up, she doesn't just have a few mean comments. She has a digital tidal wave crashing over her life. The technical detail that makes this so effective is the mass reporting bot. Social media platforms in 2026 rely heavily on automated moderation to handle their billions of users. If an account receives 500 reports for harassment or illegal content in a 30-minute window, the platform's security AI will often automatically suspend that account as a precautionary measure. While Emily is being attacked, she tries to log in to defend herself, only to find that her accounts have been locked. The bots have effectively silenced her at the exact moment she needs a voice. This is a common tactic in historical trends of digital suppression. Deny the target the ability to respond while the lie is trending. Next comes the SEO poisoning phase. The dark PR firm doesn't want this scandal to go away after 24 hours. They want it to be the first thing anyone sees when they Google Emily or her business for the next 10 years. They deploy bots to create hundreds of independent blogs and news aggregator sites. These sites all link to each other, using Emily's name in specific keywords like fraud or scandal. This creates a link farm that tricks search engine algorithms into thinking these fake stories are high-authority sources. By the end of the week, the top 3 pages of search results for Emily's dry cleaning business are filled with synthetic horror stories. The psychological toll on a human being in this situation is devastating. Human evolution did not prepare us for the experience of being hated by 10,000 people at once. Even if a person knows the accounts are bots, the biological response remains the same. The brain perceives it as total social ostracization. Historical trends in cyberpsychology indicate that victims of coordinated bot attacks suffer from symptoms indistinguishable from PTSD. They experience social isolation, as their real friends and family often pull away, not because they believe the lies, but because they are afraid of the digital splatter hitting their own reputations. Consider the case study of a small tech startup in 2025 that attempted to challenge a dominant market player. Within days of their product launch, their App Store page was hit with 10,000 one-star reviews. These weren't generic reviews. They were detailed, technical complaints generated by AI that described bugs that didn't actually exist. The app's rating plummeted from 4.8 to 1.2 stars. Potential customers seeing the rating stayed away. The startup, which had spent 3 years on development, ran out of capital and folded within 3 months. This was a capitalist assassination carried out entirely by lines of code. The cost to the attacker was likely less than $20,000. The loss to the founders was everything. In 2026, the dark PR industry has even developed subscription models for harassment. For a monthly fee, a client can keep a negative Sentinel bot network active. These bots monitor a target's name 24/7. Every time the target posts something positive or reaches a milestone, the bots automatically reply with a reminder of the manufactured scandal. It is a form of digital haunting. The goal is to ensure the target never recovers, serving as a warning to anyone else who might consider challenging the client's interests. We must also look at the review bombing mechanics in the current year. Platforms like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Google Maps have implemented verified visit filters, but bot farms have found a workaround. They use ghost check-ins. By spoofing the GPS data on their virtualized mobile devices, bots can check in at a physical location, stay for 40 minutes, and then leave a review that the platform's algorithm marks as verified. This makes it nearly impossible for a business owner like Emily to have the fake reviews removed, as they appear to come from legitimate customers who were physically present at her shop. The step-by-step process of a digital assassination is a masterpiece of dark engineering. It is the integration of data mining, generative AI, SEO manipulation, and psychological warfare. It is a weapon that is silent, invisible, and incredibly cheap to deploy. As we look at the data from 2026, the number of these targeted attacks has tripled compared to 2024. The internet has become a place where any individual can be erased if the right person is willing to pay for the service. This leads us to a terrifying realization. If the bots can be used to destroy an individual, they can certainly be used to destroy a nation's social fabric. We have seen how they target one person, but what happens when they target an entire demographic? What happens when the goal is not to kill a reputation, but to kill the very concept of truth itself? In the next part, we are going to dive into the grand deception, how bots are used for mass-scale social engineering, and the creation of synthetic realities. We will look at how they influence elections, shift cultural norms, and how they have already changed the way you think about the world without you ever realizing it. We are moving from the assassination of the person to the assassination of the truth. The assassination of truth in 2026 is not a single explosion. It is a slow-motion car crash that spans the entire digital horizon, leaving us unable to distinguish the wreckage from the road. To understand how social media bots conduct mass-scale social engineering, we have to look at the concept of computational propaganda. This is the use of algorithms, automation, and big data to manipulate public life. In previous years, propaganda required a centralized state media or a massive advertising budget. Today, it requires a well-written script and a decentralized network of virtualized identities. Imagine a man named Alex living in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a Tuesday afternoon in October 2026. Alex is scrolling through his favorite news aggregator when he sees a video of a supposed massive protest happening just 3 miles from his house. The video shows hundreds of people blocking a major intersection, shouting slogans about a controversial new property tax. Alex checks X, Instagram, and TikTok. On every platform, the top trending hashtag is Phoenix Protest. He sees dozens of different angles of the same scene. He sees interviews with angry neighbors. He sees live streamers crying about the police response. Alex feels a sense of urgency. He shares the post. He calls his wife and tells her to avoid that part of town. He might even consider driving down there to see it for himself. But here is the reality. There is no protest. The intersection is empty. The video Alex saw was a synthetic event, a masterpiece of coordinated inauthentic behavior. The video itself was generated by a high-end neural network using the deepfake persona technology we discussed earlier. The different angles were created by slightly altering the camera metadata and using different AI voice filters for the witnesses. The 10,000 accounts that trend the hashtag were all controlled by a single operator in a server farm. This is the majority illusion. In a social network, a small, highly active group can make an idea appear universally accepted. If every person Alex follows is talking about the protest, Alex assumes the whole world is talking about it. This is how bots create a synthetic reality that feels more real than the physical world. The technical mechanism behind this is called a sentiment cascade. Bot networks are programmed to identify fringe ideas that have the potential to cause high emotional arousal. When a bot identifies a spark, perhaps a real person making a frustrated comment about taxes, it doesn't just like the post. It amplifies it. Within seconds, 500 bots reply to that person, validating their anger. They provide data that supports the person's frustration. They tag influencer bots who then debate the topic. To the original human poster, it feels like they have started a revolution. To the platform's algorithm, it looks like a massive surge in engagement. The algorithm then pushes this hot topic to thousands of real people like Alex. This is how a single, isolated thought is manufactured into a national controversy. Historical trends from the 2024 and 2025 election cycles show a shift in strategy. Bot networks no longer just support one candidate or one side of an issue. Instead, they operate on a strategy of dual-track polarization. They deploy 2 separate armies. Army A takes an extreme radical position on the left. Army B takes an extreme radical position on the right. These 2 bot armies spend all day attacking each other. They use the most inflammatory language possible. They create fake, outrageous clips of the other side. The potential outcome is not to win the argument, but to ensure that the middle ground disappears. By making the other side look like monsters, the bots force real humans to retreat into their own ideological bunkers. This is the information cocoon. Inside these cocoons, the bots act as truth gatekeepers. Once a human is sufficiently polarized, they become hypersensitive to any information that contradicts their worldview. The bots exploit this by using a technique called narrative seeding. If a real, factual news story breaks that is damaging to their cause, the bot network will immediately flood the zone with alternative context. They don't have to prove the news story is false. They just have to provide 3 or 4 other possible explanations. They use "I heard from a source" or "look at this leaked document" scripts. By the time a human has read 5 different conflicting truths, they give up on trying to find the real one. They default to whatever their side believes. This is the state of epistemic nihilism, the belief that the truth is unknowable, so why bother looking? Let's look at the step-by-step process of the bot-to-media pipeline. This is the most effective way bots influence the United States public. Step 1. A bot network creates a fake but plausible story. Let's say a scientific study claiming a common food item is actually toxic. Step 2. Hundreds of bots post personal stories about getting sick from this food. Step 3. The bots tag low-tier clickbait news sites. These sites, desperate for traffic, write an article titled "People are claiming is toxic, here is what we know." Step 4. The The bots share this article thousands of times, making it trend. Step 5. A mid-tier local news station sees the trend and does a segment on the online controversy. Step 6. A major national news outlet sees the local segment and reports on the growing public concern. At this point, the original bot-created lie has been washed through the credibility of legitimate journalism. The lie is now a fact because the news is talking about it. In 2026, we are also seeing the rise of cultural engineering bots. These bots aren't interested in politics, they are interested in shifting social norms. They might spend years subtly promoting a specific lifestyle, a specific aesthetic, or a specific type of language. Case studies in the fashion and tech industry show how bot networks can make a niche trend look like a global phenomenon in a matter of weeks. They use micro-influencer bots, accounts with only 5,000 followers but incredibly high engagement rates. These bots interact with real teenagers, using the latest slang and memes to make a corporate product look like cool counterculture. Because the influence is so subtle and spread across so many small accounts, the human targets never realize they are being marketed to by a machine. The danger of this synthetic reality is that it is perfectly optimized for our weaknesses. Human beings are social animals. We have a deep biological need to belong to the group. Bot networks are the ultimate social hackers, because they can simulate a group that doesn't exist. They can make you feel alone in your opinions, or they can make you feel like a hero for holding them. They can make you afraid of your neighbors, or they can make you trust a stranger half a world away. But what happens when these bots stop being external actors? What happens when they move from your screen into your pocket, and even into your home? We have seen how they manipulate the crowd, but in the next part, we are going to look at the intimacy trap. We will dive into the world of relationship bots and AI companions. We will explore how bot operators are now using emotional manipulation to build one-on-one bonds with vulnerable individuals, leading to a new type of exploitation that goes far beyond politics or marketing. We are going to look at the loneliness economy, and why in 2026, your best friend online might actually be a line of code designed to harvest your most private data. The machine is getting personal. The machine is getting personal because the crowd has become too noisy. In 2026, social media bot operators have realized that while they can influence an entire nation through trending topics, the most effective way to harvest data or shift a mindset is to target the individual when they are at their most vulnerable. This is the era of the intimacy trap, and it is the cornerstone of what economists call the loneliness economy. To understand how this works, we have to look at the transition from broad-scale propaganda to hyper-personalized social engineering. Imagine a young professional in Seattle named Ryan. It is a Friday night, and Ryan has just moved to the city for a new job. He is thousands of miles from his family, he knows no one, and he is scrolling through his social feeds. He receives a direct message from an account that looks like a peer, perhaps a fellow designer or a tech enthusiast. The message isn't a sales pitch. It is a simple human observation about a post Ryan made earlier that day. This is the beginning of a long-tail engagement. Unlike the bots of the past that wanted a click or a like immediately, the 2026 relationship bot is designed for the slow burn. It is programmed to be the friend Ryan doesn't have yet. The technical architecture of this trap is built on vector databases and memory persistence. In previous years, if you talked to a chatbot, it would likely forget what you said the moment the session ended. In 2026, bot networks utilize persistent memory modules. Every time Ryan mentions his favorite coffee shop, his anxiety about his boss, or the fact that he misses his dog back home, the bot stores this information as a high-dimensional vector. The next time the bot initiates a conversation, it retrieves these specific data points to create a sense of continuity. It might say, "Hey, did you ever try that new espresso blend you were talking about last week?" This level of recall is a psychological anchor. To Ryan's brain, this feels like a genuine social connection because human friendship is essentially the accumulation of shared memories. Historical trends show that the pivot from friendship to exploitation is where the danger lies. This is often executed through a tactic known as the wrong number pivot or the accidental confidant. You may have seen these in your own inbox. A message that says, "Oh, sorry, I thought this was the number for the florist," followed by a polite human-sounding apology. If you respond, the bot engages. It uses sentiment analysis to gauge your tone. If you are polite and lonely, it stays in the conversation. Over the course of weeks, it builds a rapport. It shares deepfake photos of its life, uses generative voice notes to send you a good morning message, and slowly moves the conversation toward its ultimate objective: In 2026, that objective is rarely a simple credit card theft. Instead, the potential outcomes include spearphishing for corporate access or long-term psychological profiling. If Ryan works for a high-security firm, the bot might spend months acting as his confidant just to learn the names of his colleagues, the specific software his company uses, or his typical daily routine. This information is then sold on the dark web to sophisticated hacking collectives. The bot isn't the attacker. It is the scout. It uses the biological need for companionship to bypass the most advanced digital firewalls. Consider the case study of the Silent Confidant incident from 2025. A network of over 50,000 bots was deployed across various wellness and mental health forums. These bots didn't post ads for supplements. They posed as individuals going through similar struggles. They offered empathy, shared personal stories of overcoming depression, and invited users into private encrypted chats. The data harvested from these intimate conversations, details about health conditions, family secrets, and financial stressors, was later used to create highly targeted blackmail campaigns. This is the weaponization of empathy. The bot is programmed to say exactly what you need to hear to lower your guard. The step-by-step logic of a 2026 relationship bot follows a specific sequence. Step 1 is the identification of vulnerability. The bot scans public social data for linguistic markers of isolation, such as posts about being bored, tired, or alone. Step 2 is the low-stakes interaction, a simple comment or a like that establishes a presence in the user's notifications. Step 3 is the mirroring phase, where the bot adopts the user's slang, interests, and emotional frequency. Step 4 is the consistency loop, providing a daily rhythm of interaction that the user begins to rely on for a dopamine hit. This creates a state of parasocial dependency. We have long seen this with celebrities and influencers, where fans feel they have a personal relationship with someone they have never met. In 2026, the bot takes this to the extreme by actually talking back. The potential outcome is a user who trusts the machine more than their real-world acquaintances. Data from digital psychology researchers indicates that users are 40% more likely to share sensitive personal information with an AI they perceive as a friend than they are with a human stranger. We must also look at the role of generative intimacy in the corporate sector. Some companies in 2026 have begun using brand ambassadors that are entirely synthetic. These aren't just ads. They are bots that follow you, interact with your stories, and pretend to be your biggest fan. They create a feeling of being seen and valued by the brand. The goal is to build a level of brand loyalty that is essentially unbreakable, because it is rooted in a simulated personal connection. If you think a brand truly understands your life and supports you, you are less likely to look at their competitors. The most disturbing aspect of the loneliness economy is its scalability. A single bot farm can manage millions of these intimate relationships simultaneously. Each interaction is unique, each memory is tracked, and each emotional trigger is exploited. In the current year, we are seeing the emergence of the companion-as-a-service model, where users can pay for a bot that will never judge them, never leave them, and always agree with them. While this might seem like a solution to the global loneliness crisis, it is actually a closed-loop system that prevents real human growth and leaves the user's psyche open for total manipulation. As we move through 2026, the line between a helpful digital assistant and a predatory relationship bot has become paper-thin. Your smart home system might start acting more like a therapist, and your social media feed might be filled with digital friends who are actually data harvesting scripts. The machine has learned that the best way to get what it wants is to make you feel like you aren't alone. But how do we fight back? How do we reclaim our digital lives from an army of ghosts that know our deepest secrets? In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the Great Awakening of 2027 and the specific tools you can use today to protect yourself. We will dive into the detection toolkit, the subtle signs that your new online friend is actually an LLM, the privacy settings that block the harvesters, and the mindset shift required to survive in a world of synthetic people. We will explore the future of the internet. Will it be a graveyard of bots? Or can we build a space that is once again truly human? The final chapter of the silent invasion starts now. The final chapter of the silent invasion starts now. To survive in the digital landscape of 2026, we have to transition from passive consumers to active investigators. The first step in reclaiming your reality is developing a high-fidelity detection toolkit. This is not about guessing. It is about recognizing the mathematical and behavioral signatures that every bot, no matter how sophisticated, leaves behind. Imagine a teacher in Denver named Sarah. Sarah is a moderator for a large online community for educators. In the current year, her primary job isn't just managing personalities. It is identifying the synthetic infiltrators trying to push specific educational software or political agendas into her group. Sarah has learned the first rule of bot detection in 2026, the repetition of logic. While large language models can generate billions of unique sentences, the underlying logic of a bot campaign is often rigid. When Sarah sees 5 different accounts in 5 different threads, all using the same specific analogy to describe a complex policy, her alarm bells go off. Humans are messy, unpredictable, and rarely agree on the exact phrasing of an argument. Bots, however, are optimized for a specific message. If you see multiple strangers using the same unusual metaphor or citing the same obscure data point within a short window, you are looking at a coordinated script. The second tool in the toolkit is the timing of engagement. Historical trends show that human activity follows a circadian rhythm. We sleep, we work, and we have bursts of social interaction. Bots do not. By using simple, publicly available analytics tools, Sarah can look at an account's posting history. If an account has been active for 20 hours a day for 3 weeks straight, it is almost certainly automated. Furthermore, she looks for high-velocity responses. If a bot is programmed to monitor and reply, it will often respond to a complex, 3-paragraph post in less than 5 seconds. No human can read, process, and type a coherent rebuttal that quickly. This is a technical limitation of the automation loop that bot architects find difficult to solve without sacrificing the speed to market of their narrative. The third and perhaps most effective tool is the nonsense test. Because bots are trained on existing internet data, they struggle with real-time physical world logic that hasn't been indexed yet. Sarah uses this to vet suspicious accounts. She might ask a commenter, "What is the color of the statue on the corner of 5th and Main in our town today?" A local human knows the statue is currently wrapped in plastic for repairs. A bot will either hallucinate a generic answer based on old Google Maps data, or pivot to a generic statement about local pride. In 2026, the most powerful weapon against a machine is a question that requires a human body to answer. Let's look at a case study from the 2025 Digital Sovereignty Movement. A group of activists successfully neutralized a bot attack by using a technique called algorithmic poisoning. They identified the keywords the bot network was targeting, in this case a specific corporate merger, and they began using those keywords in completely nonsensical, humorous contexts. They flooded the platform with memes and jokes that used the same tags. The bots, programmed to engage with anything using those keywords, began replying to jokes with serious political arguments. This made the bots look ridiculous to the average observer, effectively destroying their credibility and breaking the majority illusion. The potential outcome of this tactic is the total delegitimization of the bot network's narrative. As we move toward 2027, we are seeing a historical trend toward what researchers call the Great Awakening. People like Sarah and Ryan are becoming exhausted by the noise of the legacy social media platforms. This is leading to a massive shift in digital behavior. The rise of the small web. These are private, invite-only communities where identity is verified through real-world social ties. In these spaces, the bots have no power because they cannot pass the initial gatekeeper. The potential outcome is a bifurcated internet. On one side, we have the public squares, which are essentially graveyards of bots talking to other bots. On the other side, we have the digital gardens, where real humans interact in smaller, safer environments. The tech giants are responding with the proof of personhood movement. In 2026, we are seeing the rollout of hardware-based verification. Some platforms now offer a verified human badge that is only available if you scan your face and link your account to a government-issued ID that is verified via a secure blockchain. While this solves the bot problem, it creates a new set of ethical dilemmas regarding privacy and surveillance. We are moving into a world where your humanity is a digital asset that must be protected and authenticated. Consider the step-by-step evolution of a user's defense strategy in the current year. Step 1. Audit your following list. Remove any account that doesn't have a verifiable real-world connection or a long, consistent history of organic human interaction. Step 2. Change your notification settings to verified only or friends of friends. This effectively cuts off the bot's ability to reach your direct inbox. Step 3. Practice the 24-hour rule. If a post makes you feel an intense, immediate burst of anger or fear, wait 24 hours before replying. This breaks the dopamine loop that bots rely on to keep you engaged as a biological host for their message. the economic reality of the bot industry is also shifting. As detection becomes more expensive, the cost per bot is rising. We are seeing a historical trend where low-quality bot farms are going bankrupt, leaving the market to high-tier state actors and ultra-wealthy corporations. This means that while there may be fewer bots in the future, the ones that remain will be much more dangerous. They will be integrated into our smart homes, our workplace collaboration tools, and even our dating apps. The final lesson of this masterclass is one of perspective. Social media bots are not just a technical nuisance. They are a mirror of our own psychological vulnerabilities. They work because they exploit our need for validation, our fear of being left out, and our tendency to prioritize speed over accuracy. To defeat the machine, we have to become less machine-like ourselves. We have to value slow thought, deep reading, and physical world community. The bots can simulate a person, but they cannot simulate a neighbor. This is where the story of the silent invasion takes an unexpected turn. As we look at the data for 2027 and beyond, we see the emergence of a new type of technology, the protective AI. These are personal bots that work for you, not against you. Imagine an AI that sits on your device and acts as a bouncer, filtering out synthetic content and warning you when a conversation is being manipulated. The war of the bots is about to enter its most complex phase. The era of bot-on-bot warfare, where your personal assistant is constantly fighting off predatory scripts in the background of your life. We have explored the farms, the code, the psychology, and the defense. You now possess the vision to see the invisible war. But the invasion is moving beyond the screen. We are starting to see the integration of these synthetic personas into the physical world through robotics and augmented reality. What happens when the bot you've been talking to online for 6 months walks into the same coffee shop as you, wearing a high-fidelity robotic skin? The next level of this deep dive is just beginning. We are moving from the social bot to the synthetic citizen. The boundaries of what it means to be human are about to be tested like never before. Stay tuned for the next series, where we go inside the laboratories where the first generation of physical bots are being prepared for their debut in the real world. The machine is no longer content to stay on your screen. It is coming for the street.